Hello and welcome to May's Live Healing Tree with Danielle. I'm Danielle, if we have not met before. Welcome, thanks for coming. I like to use these monthly lives as a time to just come on here, connect with you about all things related to the emotional healing journey. And there's so many things that are part of that. So whatever that may be, we explore a different topic each time. Welcome, Caitlin. I would love it if you jump in and want to say hello in the chat, or if you have questions at any time. I try to make this as interactive as I can. I try to answer the questions as best as I can. Welcome, Darren. Thank you for coming. So today is different. It's something different than I usually do. Today, I'm actually talking about a book, which I don't think I've ever done on YouTube before. And it's not really my style. I would not call myself an expert or an authority in like book reviewing in any way. I just happen to feel a strong impact or takeaway from this book that I just read. And when I come onto these lives, I also like to make them alive, which means I want it to be something that I'm feeling, I am working on, or my students or clients are talking about, or something that's really like present in my heart. So I can just kind of share and deliver my own awakenings about that subject. And today in particular, I also I blend my personal experience sometimes more often when I'm teaching than when I'm here on the lives. But today is more of a personal sharing about this book. Welcome, Amanda and Amy. So this is the book that we're talking about today. It's called It Didn't Start With You: How Inherited Family Trauma Shapes Who We Are and How to End the Cycle, by Mark Wolin. So first, let me just backtrack a little to explain to you. I've been on my own emotional healing journey, and I know for some of you, this is a broken record. You know a lot about me, but let me just say it's like 30 years now, really. If I look back, I feel like when I was about 19 is when it really began. And I just turned 49 on Sunday, so I guess that's 30 years. And the beginning of the journey was very much because I was, at that time in my life, I was like drowning in fear. There was an element of anxiety, there was an element of worry, but what I felt it as was a constant state of fear, which of course just had my nervous system jacked, and then the anxiety, it was like a vicious loop. And it was like controlling my life. I mean, I couldn't like focus on anything. And that was where the journey really, really began. Like I couldn't live like that. And I needed to do something. I was scared of everything. I was scared of the world. I was scared of my body. I was scared of my every little thing that like popped up on my skin. And I was young. Health, and then like society, like everything seemed unsafe to me. And I was living in fear. And thank you, Darren. Thank you for the birthday wish. And this went on until I really met with my true self when I began my journey with body and brain. And all of this is in my memoir, Healing Tree. But it cleared at that time. And that was where I really got in touch with my light that was on the other side of that, what felt like darkness. And the journey kind of began. Like I was off and running. But as I got older and I had more stresses and responsibilities and more, like I'm not like Benjamin Buttoning, like our body keeps getting older and changing. It started to creep back in. Like even the littlest things. I mean, I have no serious thing to claim here in terms of why I should be afraid. It just like, it just was incessant, and it became only really situational. So I can live my life, I can be centered, I can be in touch with that light inside, but this, it arrives in certain circumstances. It shows itself. So based on the work that I'm doing now, I would call this my fear part. And I want, in my 49th year on this planet, well, this started last year, really. I felt like a calling, like a nudge, like it's time for me to get closer to this part, listen to it more, love it, work on it, work through it, understand it. I don't really know the right words, but I wanted to do more. It's almost like a teacher to me. It's like it guides me. Like it has guided me on my whole like spiritual journey, my growth journey, my healing journey. It's been my trainer, my coach, I really feel. So I met a woman who I wanted to do some EFT sessions with about this because, as you all know, I love EFT, and I wanted to just be a receiver, to like, so I could fully focus on this, only just this. And as we were doing our work together, you know, she would ask like, "Oh, did you have something in your, like someone had this experience in your childhood that you can tie this to?" And the answer is always like, no. It's a little bit, I mean, I know my life, so I can see where it came from, but in some ways it's a little mysterious. So she recommended this book. She was like, "Oh, this is interesting. I saw this guy talking. I have this book. Do you want to kind of read this book together?" Like book buddy situation, which I've also never done. And it was very enjoyable to do that. But so as I started reading this book, which is very interesting, and this whole like inherited family trauma thing is fascinating. I invite you all to read the book if you would like to learn more. He gives, well, first he gives a lot of research. So this was one of the things that was like interesting to me off the bat. He's talking a lot about cellular biology and epigenetics and all this research and study that he and his people and his team and all these other references that he makes, studying about like genetics, trauma in a scientific way that I can't regurgitate. So if that kind of stuff is interesting to you, I encourage you to read it. It's not always interesting to me, honestly, but I was fascinated as I was reading it because he kept talking about the importance of the mother-child bond, even from the very beginning of the book where he's just referencing all this research. So this was like, oh, that's really interesting. That's really interesting. And as the book is going on, he gives a lot of different stories, many clients that he's worked with over the years, and this kind of how the inherited family trauma showed up for them. Really interesting. I mean, things going back to the mother, the grandmother, and how it's showing up. Again, this is not completely related to what I want to talk about today, but I'll just give like one short story that stands out in my mind. There is, I think it's a woman, may have been a man, but there was a woman and she was cutting. So a lot of his clients would come to him because they were like experiencing like some severe trauma that they didn't know how to get through. And when he looked back, I know, right? Courtney is saying important topic for Mother's Day. Yes, right. It's coming soon. It's a hard topic. Okay, so before I actually tell this story, and thank you for saying that, I really wanted to, more than any other live, give like a potential trigger warning. I don't usually do that. And you all know I often say like I'm not a licensed therapist here. I'm like a person on a journey, and I have been doing emotional healing work with so many students over the years because of how important it's been for me. So I'm doing it with myself, and a lot of times just sharing and helping people through what, I've awakened to over the years. So I'm not a licensed therapist. So there could be triggers here. Honestly, it was very triggering for me. I'm not going to get too much into the nitty-gritty, but I would like to share about those parts a little bit. First, I'll just tell you an example of like the other aspect, which is the inherited family trauma aspect. A girl who was like cutting herself. And then when he went down deep into her family line, there was some like her grandparents had been in a horrible accident, and the grandfather went through the glass and died. And then the grandmother always felt like it should have been her because she was the driver. So this girl had this voice that was like, I'm supposed to die, something like this. I'm summarizing. And she would cut herself like very deeply, very deeply. And so she was like reliving the grandparents' accident through her, because like after it happened, the grandmother never talked about it, and she didn't talk about it to the mother, and then the mother never talked about it. And it sort of became like a giant family secret. So these things that are unaddressed they trickle down. It can be through the genetics, and just through sort of the energetics. And so like once this girl learned, like was told in full the story, I think by the grandmother, maybe the mother, her problem went away. So that's like one of so many dozens of stories that he tells. And again, I'm not claiming that I could do that for anybody. This is nothing to do with the work that I do. This is what Mark Wolin is talking about. If you're interested, please read more. For me, some of the practices in the book, they weren't like my style. So my style is like very feeling based, as you know, if you've ever done any work with me. And I like to get into the feeling and get you into the feeling and really be guided by that feeling. But his prompts are a little bit more mental, cerebral. I'm not trying to say any negative thing about them, but some people like that, like a writing prompt. For me, it wasn't really like a really right alignment for the kind of thing that helps me, until I got to this other part of the book. And this is what I want to talk about. So there's a chapter where he's like, and I'm just checking notes here, he's like talking about generational trauma versus attachment trauma. And he lists sentences. He's talking a lot about like finding your core fear, finding your core sentence, finding your core trauma. He's like guiding you in exercises to find that. But all the sentences, like under the attachment trauma, I had so many. And under the generational trauma list, like I didn't have many. And the couple that I did had were on the attachment trauma list. So I was already feeling like, because he kept bringing up the mother-child bond. And I was like, I was going to talk about that more, because I feel like that's really what's going on with, like, that's what's going on with me. Like, that's important for me. So finally, he comes to this huge section about like separation, the core language of separation, and like what happens to a child and how it can show up later as an adult when they are separated from the mother at birth, or like really from kind of like the womb to like 3 years old is around the age frame that he's talking about. So this is so interesting to me. I don't see a lot of like in the adoption world, I don't like see a lot of books or authors, and perhaps I just haven't read them, talking really about the science of this. And I know that there's some information about that out there. I haven't read a lot of it. And then I'm reading this book for a totally different reason. And suddenly everything is pointing to that, and with like scientific links. So I was like, I really wish every adopted person could read Mark Wolyn's book, but he doesn't like, he's not particularly talking about adoption. So it could be lost. It could be like not noticed. So I really wanted to bring it to attention because it's very validating. It's incredibly validating. He has no skin in the adoption game whatsoever. In fact, he's only referencing adoption like a little bit because there's so many different ways to have this separation, which creates this attachment trauma. So many ways, starting from the womb, if the mother was under duress for like many different reasons, right? So many scenarios could happen. Or at birth, they were separated, the mother was ill, the child was ill, or this happened even within those like early formative years. If there was a separation, someone had to go away, or there's multiple examples of like someone had to go into the hospital. And so he's talking about the importance of like a wound happens there and it needs to be identified in the adult life. And even it's like the generational, this is my interpretation. It seems to me by the end of the book, I felt like he was sort of saying like attachment trauma is sort of first. And if that doesn't exist, then look to this generational trauma possibility. But he was like, I mean, he says it over and over. Like, I cannot emphasize, I don't know if I can just quickly find it, but he's like, I cannot emphasize the importance of that bond. And he talks about the connection with that bond is like, the mother is the first relationship. It's the first love. And then this affects how a person's relationship with life itself. So if he's really talking to people who maybe had those kind of experiences, like maybe they dig back and they find out that their mother was in stress when they were in her womb, or there was a separation, and then they can try to like repair the separation. And he just briefly a few times is like, unless you're adopted, like he just kind of briefly flashes, which honestly, like every sentence, once we got to the chapter called Core Language of Separation, I was like underlining and pausing to take breaths, because it's like, first of all, like landing so deeply and like not easy. It's like not easy to feel that stuff. Okay, the channel connection is asking, does it have to be a physical separation or emotional? Good question. He does say physical or emotional. Like if she's just like, okay, so like if she's like, oh, I don't, well, that's just an example. Like, oh, I'm not connected to this baby for whatever reason in the womb or as a child. If she's not emotionally connecting, yes. So it doesn't have to be just physical, because this is an energetic wound, but that wound, like it develop, like it affects how our psychology develops. So it doesn't affect like how our physical body develops, but it affects the development of our psychology. And I mean, he's like pointing to anxiety, hypervigilance, which is like me to a T when it comes to this like fear. I recognize like my own hypervigilant part before reading it. So part of the reason why I wanted to come on here today is because I feel like the universe sort of guided me to this book. I mean, like I literally got an invitation from a person to read it with them. And so I felt like it was guided to me and impacted me for also not just me, but I wanted to share about it. So turbulent womb. He talks a lot about separation between the mother and child as the origin of inner conflict and like a life of distress or discomfort even. And yeah, he said interruptions to the flow of life. Like our connection to the mother is our connection to the flow of life. So this is all very interesting for me because I'm highly spiritual. I've been on my own spiritual journey. I felt connected to the flow of life. I've even had moments, I've done a lot of work, healing work with my birth mother. And I've even had moments where I felt that kind of connection and then that flow come back through to me. But there's more work to be done. And it was made very clear when I read this book because I could feel it. I could feel it so loudly and strongly, like arising in my heart. Like this is a big deal for me. And unlike the other examples that he's talking about, as an adopted person, you know, the birth mother doesn't come back, or maybe nowadays, yes, in these more open adoptions, but it was not my case until much later in life. And then for some of us, we never have a chance. Some never have a chance to meet their birth mother. So the good news, there is some good news. I was honestly holding my breath for good news for a long time in this book. I was like, I kept telling my friend, like, I'm just hoping in the next chapter, he's going to talk about, I was like looking for. And so the good news is that, and this is where it starts to loop back to like the work that I do and am most interested in. The good news is that we can repair this relationship inside of us. Whether we can repair it externally with our mother who birthed us or not. I know there's many who may never have a chance to, and also many who may know their mother who birthed them. That may not be an adoption situation. They may have grown up with them and just feel, you know, because of the nature of the personalities or the situation, it's not possible. So I didn't want that to be like a cause for hopelessness. I was looking to see like that's really limited. There's not many people who can do that. And I don't believe in that. I believe healing is always possible. So there was a hopeful element in the end where he begins to talk about that this happens inside of you. So basically repairing the relationship with the mother who birthed you in your own heart and in your own body. And he leads one main practice in that kind of main chapter that's about separation. And that practice was really hard. I'm not going to lie. I tried it. I always try very sincerely. I'm willing if it speaks to me. And it did. And it was not easy. And through that, I was like, oh, there's a lot here that I still need to work on. Now, a lot of you know who my biological mother is, and I don't like to talk about like specifics or details. I like to keep those kinds of things private. I think that it's better for my path, but I like to find the way to be able to share as much as I can that can be like helpful to others while keeping some certain specifics private. So if you're like, give me details, Danielle, sorry. Maybe if you want to like meet me, you know, privately or in a class, I may be willing. But in this case, it was a really intense exercise. It involves using a picture. Personally, I can do a lot of imagining. Imagining has been really helpful for me on my healing journey, but I also sometimes use pictures and I see the value of like an actual tangible picture, because when you look at the picture, okay, so this is where my work, like what I'm interested in comes in and what I do. When you look at the picture, You can feel yourself. And this is also what Mark Wolin talked about, which I really like. As we were getting towards the end, I was like, oh, there's a lot of like, oh, this is great, because he's talking about the same thing that I'm often talking about, the importance of feeling yourself, being in the feeling, in the sensation, letting the sensation guide you to where the block is. So when you even just look at a picture, if you have one, you can feel it. You can feel your body, and you can get a very honest barometer of where you are. I mean, I looked at several pictures. It was so obvious, like my body. So I've been practicing for a long time to sensitize my body. And this is why I cannot encourage you enough. If you are on that journey, emotional healing journey, you have to keep sensitizing and having strength and courage to drop into those sensations. It feels at first like they're the enemy, or like they're gonna, like you're just gonna drown there. But actually, when you just can lean in and like learn the practice of acceptance, they're so telling. They like open a door, a portal to deeper healing. So that was my experience. I tried to do this practice. It was very, very hard. Some of his prompts were really triggering me. So I had to take a moment, take some breaths, and kind of do it my own way, which was kind of just like inviting my birth mother to sort of sit next to my bed and just kind of be there while I sleep. Honestly, the practice that he recommends is like so much more in depth, but that was like as far as I could go. And then I feel myself. Like if anything causes a deep resistance and a tightening, we don't want to push through that wall. I knew myself. I'm not going to push here. I'm going to pause here. I'm going to breathe. I'm going to talk about this feeling. And I'm going to keep trying to open this resistance, this wall, this block, this tension, this guarding, or whatever happens for you. That was how it was for me. There's like something that comes up when I look at the picture, or I try to see the image. I have to work through until there's an open, like, flow of energy, right? Just like if you meet a person you're like struggling with, until you talk it through and then everything feels open. That's where we want to get to, that relief place. I know that from my journey. So I kind of took the exercise and did it my own way to get to that relief place. It was a very good exercise. I refer back to it. I have referred back to it several times. I sort of have an ongoing thing with that image. It keeps changing and shifting. And yeah, in that image, I'm allowing us to get closer just in the image with the feeling of my body. That's it. That's it. It's all happening within me. And that's the most important thing. Yes, I encourage you to try. He talks about that the left side is the feminine side. So always over the left shoulder. And I encourage you to do it your own way. Look at the picture or the image in your mind and just feel yourself, right? Allow yourself to feel and talk very honestly. And you want to practice to find what you need to say to open your own heart and let it, if it's an image in your mind, you might see the image shifting. If any of you want to try to do this and are struggling and need to reach out to me, want to do some sessions to help you, if you need guidance, you are more than welcome. I felt this is where I became very like positive at the end. Like, okay, not everyone, but anyway, Mark Boland and the people who I like, when I really resonate, it always kind of leads back to this place where we need to be honest with our feeling and honest with our discomfort and honest with our block and be in the feeling. And then like in my work, in my art of self-acceptance class, we're working with our own parts. And here you're just putting the image of your birth mother. And if you don't have a picture of her, you don't even know what she looks like, you just can invite her sort of energetically. Whatever like energy being arrives, that's fine. You don't even have to have a picture or know what they look like. You don't have to. This is what I'm trying to say. Like, it's possible to do the healing work no matter the situation. Because I remember long ago when I first read like The Primal Wound, I really struggled with that book. Like that was like many years ago now, many, over a decade. It was really triggering because I felt, and I like that book, but I felt like myself in a box, like the adopted person box that I can never get out of. And I'm just stuck with this for my whole life. But what I felt at the end, and then I don't like that feeling. I don't like the feeling because I start to create like a victim kind of thoughts, victimized like mentality comes up, and I don't like that feeling. It makes me feel small, and I can't feel like connected to my truth, like who I really am, like my expansive self when I get in that box. So that was hard for me years ago, but here I kind of felt like sort of starting to go in there, and then I was like, wait a minute, no, like there's always something. There's always something I can do. And in fact, for myself, I want to say, just like I feel like my fear part has been like a teacher and like a guide for me in this life, I feel like my circumstance as an adopted person with a primal wound or an attachment trauma or a separation trauma or whatever we want to call it, this is another guide for me. This is a teacher. I often say this, I feel I came to this earth. I say it as we, but I'll just be really like personal here. I feel I came to this earth for my soul's growth. It's like a school. So I cannot help but feel this is a spiritual experience here. And these are my teachers. This is my course that I signed up for, having this kind of separation trauma or attachment trauma, whatever the right language is. And, working with the wound guides me to who I truly am. The wound guides me to greater freedom, greater love, greater joy, greater alignment, deeper authenticity, more present with the truth of who I am. If I didn't have that like deep pain, I don't think it would motivate me enough to, I don't know if it's like a motivator. It's been a motivation for me. There's no choice for me. There's no choice. I think I said that in Healing Tree. Like for me, there's no choice. All along, I needed to do these things. And I really understood it when I read Mark Wolyn's book. I felt validated. I felt, I'm not just making this up in my head. I felt like, see, to myself, like, yeah. Like I kept saying these things, like underlining and starring, like, yes, thank you for saying that. This is not made up. This is, but this is not who I am, right? So I have a wound, but I am not that wound. It's part of the who I am not helping me awaken to who I really am. Is that awakening process easy? No, it's not. Does it come with pain sometimes? Yes, for sure. So a lot of what I'm teaching is like more generalized, like helping us all just get comfortable with the uncomfortable, comfortable with the pain, and sensing the sense of acceptance inside. because that's what's really happening, right? If we have this trauma with our mother who birthed us, then there's something we don't accept. There's a block, a guard, a resistance, a pushing away, or a needing, or like a blaming. Like there's just a constant something we don't accept. So we want to have the strength and the sensitivity to go in and find that, so we can accept that. And that's what starts to heal this inside of our own heart, which then, as he said, heals our relationship with life itself, which seems so powerful and so important. Thank you, Patricia. Yes, this process is never easy, but I've learned it's rewarding. It's deeply rewarding. So by the end of this book, I found myself, after doing the practice and everything I felt and experienced, like zooming way out and remembering who I am. And this was my journey this time. This was my path, somehow like divinely orchestrated. This is what I choose to believe. Others may not, but I feel it. Like I feel that kind of knowing in my body after all the work that I've done and continue to do. So I'm not here to say, I'm done and you should all do it. No, I'm doing this like sort of together in real time with you. But very grateful, very, very grateful for the fundamental tools that I have of being able to feel and developing the ability to watch and accept. And so grateful when there are experts who's now like world-renowned expert saying really like that's the key, like go into your feeling place is sort of at the climax of this book. And do that with like looking at a picture or an image so that you can feel the actual trigger and really feel it. Instead of, we're usually just responding, right? We're usually just reacting and we never have a chance to like really experience it inside. So it's been really powerful for me. It's good to heal in your own pace and allow yourself to take one step forward and if needed, a step back. But parents do get older. Aren't you afraid that they pass before you finish the healing process? Thank you for asking. Or do you take that in consideration and adjust your process? Actually, no. I think what you said is really wise, that you need to take it at your own pace. You might go a step forward and a step back. I'm always encourage you to like follow your intuition, your own sense. And as I said at the beginning, like if you feel like you're hitting a wall, don't try to break through that wall. Step back. You don't need to re-trigger yourself, re-traumatize yourself. That's what we don't want. I thought of another thing I want to say, but first let me answer Claudia's question. So as I said, they don't have to be alive because this process is happening in your own heart. And as you said so well, in your own time. You can't force it. You can't, like, the point is not to put another pressure on you. Oh my God, I have to like heal with my parents before they pass. No. You just listen to your heart. You just do your best. But you can start the process inside. You can put it to the side when you feel like you need to. And you can come back to it inside your heart at any time. At any time. I mean, I've done some parents' work over the years in another format. And I've heard people say like, oh, I needed my parents to like not be here anymore so that I could do this. Some others, like, I'm so glad they're here so I can go say this to them. Some others, we don't have the chance that we can go say this to them because we don't know who they are, where they are. I don't want anybody to be excluded. I don't want any pressure for anybody. This can happen in your own heart at your own time. And I strongly invite you to do it that way. So I hope that answers your question. Three other quick things I want to say. The first one is, if you do want to read this book, make sure you get the fully revised and updated version. My friend had the older version and it was missing some of the parts, especially the parts about the attachment trauma. So just make sure it has a little stamp. The second thing I want to say is that another friend said to me, like, if you want to do that practice that he recommends, again, I'm not telling you should do it. I'm just sharing what I experienced. She said, you want to be careful not to re-traumatize. So it may also be beneficial to not think of yourself as an adult when you do it, but think of yourself as like a baby when you do it, like your baby self. And I tried that later after having done it a couple of times, and that brought a new interesting element in. So I felt like that was also like worthy to share. Again, you can see, like, I take these things and I sort of make them my own because I have to feel good and right about it, and I don't want to feel any pressure. And honestly, like years ago, I wouldn't have even been able to do that practice. It's because of like how far I have come in my own healing work with my birth mother. I felt like, oh, this is coming to me at this perfect timing. So some people might just read this and it's like a nothing book. For me, it was so deep. It was so profound. It was like next level and like an arrow from the universe. Like, look this way, Danielle, this direction. So actually it opened me up to some new things that I will be trying because I really experienced like sort of at a sensation level, I was able to recognize something inside. And now I know what I want more integration with that part. I want more integration with that sensation. I want more loving, compassionate integration with that fear. I know that fear just wants to be felt by me and validated by me because it feels so good, the same way I was validated by Mark Woolen when he wrote this book. So I hope that helps you. Please feel free to let me know if you have any other questions in the chat box. Today is longer than usual. Thanks for sticking with me. Tomorrow I begin my Art of Self-Acceptance class. I'm just dropping that in the chat if anyone is interested in experiencing that. I could really see as I did this book, like, so my specialty is more the fundamentals of this, like helping us to get into the feeling, to allow, to awaken the ability to observe, to start to reconcile with our parts. And the more we reconcile with the feelings and the parts of us, we can like sort of reconcile between another. Like, it's really hard to do that between you and another if you're not like clear about doing that with yourself. Like, it will be muddied for you, and then it's like muddied between you, and then we're like in our head, we're like out of our body, we're like trying to fix it some way, we're like blaming, we can't get out of the blame loop. So my work is more general, but I felt an increase of like I'm always confident about this work because I see what it does for people, but I was like, everyone really needs this if they want to do the emotional healing journey, because it is like part of so many other aspects of healing work. It's an important foundation. Thank you. It was interesting. And I agree, you have to take some of everything and make it your own. Yes, yes. I know this is a really like tender topic, like mother, child, family. That's why I said at the beginning, there can be triggers, there can be confusions, there can be questions. You might even feel like, I don't like that while you're listening. It's okay. It's okay. You don't have to. And you don't have to force through it. You absolutely don't. Listen to those feelings. That is always my message in my work and here on Healing Tree. Thank you, Claudia. Thank you, all of you, for being here with me. And if you do have questions, reach out, put them in the comments if you're watching this on the replay. Yeah, let's continue the healing conversation together so that we can feel we are not alone. And a lot of these things are universal. They're actually researchable now. They're like proven now, and that's not to make us feel like stuck because we had a certain life experience. It's I hope it can instead be validating and confirming and help us like liberate ourselves because the way is within always, no matter what. Okay, thank you. Thank you, Caitlin. Thank you, everyone. Thank you for being with me for this whole time. Have a wonderful day and see you next time. Take care.